Welcome back to the Real News Network and our coverage of the inauguration of President Barack Obama and the first days of his presidency. And the question we're discussing is, should Bush and Cheney be prosecuted? We're joined by David Swanson, Democrats.com, and also Progressive Democrats of America board member, and Dr. Faye Williams, who's chair of the National Congress of Black Women. Thanks for joining us. All right, so David, we left off in the last segment. The question is really a political question, not a legal question. Everybody, as you said as we ended the last segment, it's pretty clear. A crime has probably been committed. It's probably been confessed to. It's a political equation. Do you want to take on the political fallout of going after Bush Cheney? But the other big piece of this, do you want to weaken the presidency when you're the president? And if Obama wants to do that in a serious way, because the argument they're giving is, listen, why don't we just change things? Forget the prosecution. Let's just make it through legislation and other kinds of measures, something that can't be done again. Is that a legitimate argument? And if it is, what would that be?
Well, yes, I want the prosecution, and yes, I want to weaken the presidency, not because I dislike Barack Obama as a president.
No, not to you.
Would he? Would he want to weaken his own?
Part of the problem here is, does he want to weaken his own presidency?
Well, he campaigned on a platform that included weakening the presidency and transferring power back where it was supposed to be in the Congress. And in fact, if he comes in and by presidential decree reverses all of the criminal and abusive policies, that will not be the ideal solution. The ideal solution is for him to work with Congress to step up and finally do its job and reverse all of these policies, and the president to adhere to the laws as passed by Congress.
So give a couple of concrete examples of which policies should be reversed so people can say, okay, I'm going to watch the papers the next 3 months, and I'm going to see did they reverse them or not.
President Bush makes a treaty with Iraq to justify 3 more years of war without talking to the Senate. As Congresswoman Barbara Lee has introduced in a resolution, is absolutely unconstitutional. It takes away the power to approve treaties, also takes away the power to declare war. It's a treaty for 3 years of war. That should be tossed out. The president, over the past 8 years, has seized the power of the purse, not only funding things secretly, like the early stages of invading Iraq with money that was appropriated for Afghanistan with no consequences, but also now throwing around trillions of dollars without any accountability or oversight for bankers, not for homeowners, and this is a problem. The president has the power now to write signing statements, to rewrite laws as he signs them into law. There's not a more quintessentially abusive act in this scheme of the separation of powers that we're supposed to have than that. That is to take away the power to legislate from the legislative branch. These are things that need to be changed, and it's Congress that needs to step up and change them, and President Obama that needs to adhere to the will of Congress. But there's a very important point that I think we have to make, which is there's a lot of talk in this town that he would be risking some political capital to take some of these steps, and particularly to prosecute Bush and Cheney. Let me tell you, the man who threw a couple of shoes at our president is a hero to billions. Bush and Cheney are walking out of here with 22% popularity for Bush and less for Cheney. That's fewer Americans than believe in UFOs. That's essentially zero, right? You can't get less popular. And so, yes, there is political capital in this town, in this power structure, that would be struggling against prosecution. But Barack Obama would be a hero to this nation and to billions of people around the world.
So does David arguments persuade you that when Obama says not now, we have other priorities?
Does it persuade
Does David persuade you that Obama should make this a priority?
Oh, I'm not sure it should be the priority. No, I'm not persuaded. I think it should be on the list. As I said, I think if someone commits a crime, that the crime, they should pay for the crime. Otherwise, we're setting a very bad example for the young people I work with every day, for the young people all around the country who see that a crime has been committed.
So should Barack Obama then direct the Attorney General to begin the investigation into the crimes of Bush
I think
Cheney?
so.
Because it seems he's made it clear he's not going to do it.
Yes, he's probably torn because this is the kind of person he is. He believes in redemption, he believes in forgiveness, and in forward thinking. Now, as you said, as a lawyer, I know that prosecution has to be about something someone has already done, so I don't think that's a legitimate reason. In that respect, I agree with David. We have to do something about it. But whether I want to make it the priority and to spend the next 4 years so that he doesn't get reelected, I'm not sure. I think David, of course, believes that the way that he could be reelected is that he lives up to prosecuting Bush and Cheney. I'm not sure about that.
So that makes it a political consideration.
Yes, if it's at the expense of getting the other things accomplished, then
there's
I would
no
have
reason
to back
why it
away.
should be at the expense. I mean, you tell your
That's-
Attorney General to go do it, and then you can get back to worrying about the rest of the world. But you just said something interesting. If it might cost him re-election in the next presidential election.
Yes.
I mean, should that be an equation? Because David's saying this is a fundamental issue of establishing a precedent for the power of the presidency.
It should not be a part of his, but I'm saying it's a part of mine. If I were to risk his not winning in the next 4 years, then of course I wouldn't make that decision. But I know also we have a lot of progressives, and I consider myself one of those progressives, and some of us feel very strongly about wanting the prosecution and believing that it should be done if we're going to be respected, not only at home, but among our children, but around the world. When someone confesses to a crime, I think the Attorney General should look at the facts to make sure that they've confessed. Were they mentally capable of making that confession when they did it? And if they were, then yes, I believe they should be prosecuted.
I won't crack any jokes about this mental capability.
Sure you won't.
I have nothing. And the things you laid out as sort of litmus tests.
Yeah, I'm not as litmus test as David is.
If he doesn't do those things, if 4 years from now the presidency has the same kind of powers that it does that say to you that Obama has not fulfilled his promise to you?
Well, some things he's promised and some he hasn't, right? I mean, he's promised to end the occupation of Iraq, which everyone understood to be total and complete and rapid. He's promised to end the very mentality that allows wars, to work to rid the world of nuclear weapons. He's made a lot of great promises to close Guantanamo, not to announce the closure in the indefinite future of Guantanamo, but to actually close Guantanamo.
So let's talk about the Guantanamo as a very specific, one of the big promises. What's been promised now is just stop the proceedings.
He has stopped them
and
for
start an investigation. So we don't know how long that goes on for, and we don't know whether that actually leads to the closing of Guantanamo or not.
He stopped the trials for 120 days, but what's going to come after that, we don't know. And there's going to be an announcement, we think, that Guantanamo shall be closed, but no identification of when or how or what will be done with the people in it. And so, I'm a progressive first and a Democrat second. I don't put the re-election 4 years from now of someone whose behavior over the coming 4 years I have yet to see ahead of essential questions that face our nation and our world. I take it into consideration when we get there in 4 years. And I think we have to push Obama, President Obama now, as he is rightly asking us to fulfill his better promises. And those have to include actually closing Guantanamo, actually ending the occupation of Iraq.
And actual prosecution of Bush
But the
Jr.
prosecution should not be done by him, should not be done by Eric Holder. Eric Holder should, as he has professed to do, put the law ahead of the wishes of any president, and he should appoint an independent prosecutor, independent of any political party, and that prosecutor's work could be done in a week. He could pick a crime like torture.
Do you agree with this idea? There should be a special prosecutor?
Yes, I believe Guantanamo absolutely has to be.
But do you agree there should be a special prosecutor to begin the proceedings with Bush and Cheney?
Immediately, and I say that because it's time for us to get that done. That was an absolute promise by President Barack Obama.
Now.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, no, I'm not asking you about Guantanamo. I'm asking you,
sorry.
David said that there should be an immediate appointment of a special prosecutor on the Bush-Cheney case.
Okay, well, we started out saying I didn't feel that was the first thing that he should be doing. I believe it should be among the priorities, but not the absolute top priorities.
Okay, well, we shall see whether it becomes any kind of priority, because right now I'm not seeing it even on the agenda. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, and thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.
Donate today and receive a new documentary film available to members of the Real News Network. The History of the National Security State with legendary author Gore Vidal. Bonus features of the DVD include an in-depth response to Vidal from ex-CIA analyst Ray McGovern, who served under 7 U.S. presidents, an exclusive interview with Colin Powell's former chief of staff Larry Wilkerson, and an insightful interview with oil policy analyst Antonia Juhas.
The news magazine of the screen. Living glimpses of history in the making.
Hollywood and Washington is a symbiotic relationship. They both deal with illusions. Reality doesn't often play much of a part. I think I saw through the myth of the Cold War almost from the beginning. I was a Washington political kid from a political family. Roosevelt first had radio because he had this great speaking voice and everyone liked to hear. Truman proceeded to break every arrangement that Roosevelt had set up for a peaceful coexistence. And Truman thought that it would be a good idea. Why not just stay armed all the time? And then he devised the national security state. You've got to go up and swear allegiance to the United States or else you're a commie. I mean, we had imported fascism. We get Dwight Eisenhower, who said that we have this great military industrial complex. It is a dangerous thing. And he said this is going to change everything. And the way our country's governed is going to change us politically. Along comes Jack Kennedy, who wanted to make his mark, believed in the Cold War. But he said, in this kind of politics, it is the appearance of things that matters. I think everybody should take a sober look at the world about us. The national security state still exists, only it isn't communism anymore, it's terrorism. This is the most serious thing that has happened in the history of the United States. Knowledge is power. We need an honest news system.
We need the real news.
This is the sort of thing we can build right now without anyone else's permission from the government or from the business community. It's the power's in our hands.
If we're not going to sleepwalk into more wars, we think we need to start with a television news network that won't bow to pressure and has the courage to seek facts. And that means independent economics. And that's why we need you.
Make a tax-deductible donation now of at least $10 a month or a one-time give of at least $75. As a thank you for your support, we will send you the new documentary film, The History of the National Security State.